Ladies and gentlemen, today marks a very special occasion as the University of Florida confers its 500,000th degree. Representing our half-millionth degree is from Orlando, Florida, marketing major and Machen, Florida Opportunity Scholar, Christian Antonio Pugh.
Let's put the gains in Gainesville. Wait. 7, 8. Resilient. I know you're feeling it. Such a ceiling. Kids are brilliant. We are resilient. I know you're feeling it. Such a ceiling. Kids are brilliant.
Before I came in, I was actually under a lot of financial concerns. So if I had gone into UF, but I was planning on going to a community college, a cheaper one. But then I got the email saying that I was qualified for MFOS, and I applied. I didn't think I was gonna get it, but I did get in, and then that was the best thing that happened.
No, UF was my dream school. For me, it's a miracle that I got in. I applied only to 2 schools, FSU and UF, and I got accepted to both. I'm just really happy to be here. UF is my dream school, and there's nowhere else I'd want to be.
My recollection is that he approached the Board of Trustees. I was on the board that hired Bernie back in 2003. He became our president in January 2004.
And when we came in 2004, I wanted to take a look at the total diversity of our student body. And we were not happy really with the breakout in terms of socioeconomics as well as race and ethnicity. Lo and behold, when I looked at the admissions data, we were admitting hundreds of students who were much more diverse than the students who were enrolling. There were a significant number of people accepted to the university who couldn't afford to come here. And they were the kinds of young people we wanted here. So we went back to the drawing board and said, what can we do? And that was the real genesis for this scholarship.
When it started off, it was strictly a financial aid program. And it was run out of the financial aid office.
From the very beginning, it was recognized that simply giving out money is not really going to help the students to be successful. That it has to be definitely to meet that financial need that students have, but also it needs to have these wraparound support services so that these students can be successful.
This isn't just a financial aid thing. This is much bigger than financial aid.
And so I represented the Dean of Students office on our founding committee that at the time, Karen Folks, who was the director of Student Financial Affairs, which was in Student Affairs, she led the FOS committee.
Student Affairs needs to have a hand in this, and that's where Leslie began.
And so I was part of the program from the beginning.
We had a credit and budgeting course that we had the students have to go to. We had them do career resource type workshops. We did, application workshops.
When we started the program, we said, we will only take scholars who are the first in their family to go to college. And this was actually Jeb Bush's idea.
At least I know in Florida and many other states, you cannot have a program that is labeled as an affirmative action program. What the Machen Florida Opportunity Scholars Program did was allow us through the first generation criteria, the low income, the economic condition income. And today it's not an affirmative action program, but the results are that we have a tremendously diverse population within that program.
And to be honest with you, I really never thought about first gen students until Dr. Machen had this wonderful vision of enhancing UF through the diversity that comes with a program that embraces and invites the brilliant kids out there that don't have the financial means to attend UF.
When did Bernie first approach you about this idea about helping first generation college students, and what was your initial reaction, if you could remember?
Yeah, my initial reaction was hell yes. Not just yes, hell yes. And in the world we're moving towards, it's a requirement to make sure that we're equipping the next generation with the skills to be able to rise. So to have a society where everybody has the chance to rise up, you need to tear down the barriers to make sure that they can. And education is probably the most important one. There are many others, but that's certainly the most important in my mind.
And I was afraid for a while to identify these students for fear that they would feel that they were stigmatized as low-income people and might not feel comfortable. But what happened was there were so many of them, they bonded with each other. But I think that made the program a success.
So I think, our students that we've served always through this program have always had the grit, the determination, the resilience, the educational credentials in order to be successful here. Access and scholarship without the support mechanisms and the infrastructure and the people to really, I think, invest in the individuals that are beneficiaries of the scholarship, I think that's almost an empty promise. And so I think one of the things that UF did really well from the beginning is realize it's more than just the scholarship. The scholarship is a huge support and incredible piece in order to remove that financial barrier. But if we don't have the people in place and the peer mentoring and the financial literacy and all these other, intentional outreach and support elements, the return on investment, frankly, of this program and the form of the scholarship is not going to be as great as it can be. And it was very intentional that scholars was a part of this program, and using the word scholar, because, all of our students, as I said before, are scholars. They were all admitted on their own merit at UF. They're incredibly bright and incredibly gifted. And it was important for us to really own that as part of the narrative.
I had a pretty decent family life up until my parents kind of got really consumed by drug and alcohol addiction when I was about 12. They divorced, really messy, painful, terrible experience. And they bickered a lot after that. So it put a lot of tension on me and my younger brother, who is my only other sibling. Neither of my parents ever went to college. My mom was practically illiterate. My dad, after the divorce, was pretty absent from our lives. And his only experience was really with mechanics, hence how I got the name Shelby, which was after her car. So from there, I kind of just disengaged from my whole family life and got wrapped up in my studies. Really wanted to fill my head with just knowledge and just always loved to learn.
Well, we had one student at the very beginning, a young woman, and I used to tell her she was our guinea pig because she was really one of the very first that we got to know. She was in the rollout of the whole thing. And when I heard her story, I just couldn't believe it. I get sorry. But when she told me what had happened and her childhood and her growing up, I said, how are you standing here? How did you get here? And she said that there were people when she was growing up that told her she was smart. They told her she was good. They told her she could do anything she wanted. And she said those people have no idea how it affected her. This was years ago when we first started. And she's gone on. I think she went to graduate school. So many of these kids go on and get other degrees and masters. They're all over the world. They're all over the country. But she was our first one.
It's very dysfunctional. I used to take care of my little brother and my little sister because my mom, she worked the whole day. She would leave the house like at 4 a.m. in the morning and she would come back around midnight. And my stepdad would leave around the same time and he wouldn't come back until like 9 p.m.
And what did they do?
My mom back then, she worked as a manager for Ross and my stepdad worked for a county. And during 9th grade, I was really bad. I was never in school actually. Like, I would say 45 absences the year. Like, they called my house and they said that if I missed one more day, they would call the police on my mom for not being responsible. And then as the years progressed, I started getting more involved. My senior year in high school, I was president of many clubs, and I was student government vice president.
So you went from pretty much doing nothing to doing everything by your senior year. Yeah. And what do you think sparked that change?
It was in 10th grade when my dad passed away. I made him a promise that I would be the best at everything I could be. And I'm just keeping that promise.
Oh, golly, I can't count the number of our students that talk about, again, single parent, working 2 to 3 jobs, sleeping in their car, homeless, drug addiction, drugs in the neighborhood, in the family, overcoming that, having to run away from home and survive. While still becoming a student officer in high school, as well as getting your 3.8 to 4.0 grade point, etc. It's when you hear and those stories. Those are perhaps the extreme, but they're not that rare.
This was interesting. So I'm a first generation college student, first generation American. I was the first in my family to be born in the U.S. My parents came from the Dominican Republic in 1990. And had my brother in 89 and then me in 91. So there definitely wasn't like a precedent of like going to college in the US or really knowing what that was. So I don't think I really had plans to go to college. Like I didn't know what happened after high school. My cousins who had come to the United States after being a little older just like had jobs or had kids. And so like that's as far as I saw. I think I used to watch Gossip Girl in high school. So I knew that like Blair wanted to go to Yale and Serena wanted to go to Brown, but like I think in my conception of college, like the only college that I really knew about was community college. So I'm like, well, that's where I would go because like I live here and in my culture, people don't go away for college. Like you stay home and you live at home until like you're married.
But again, I think academically, our scholars came very prepared for UF. And when you look at even their grade point averages and whatnot, once they got to UF in comparison, retention rates were at or above the UF average. GPA was at or above the UF average. So I think that certainly tells a story of, what our scholars came to UF with.
High school, it was just great. Like, there was no worries, really. Like, you were just a kid. And I did teenage high school things. I had teenage high school problems. I didn't have to worry about many issues that many people had to worry about. I hung out with friends. I took classes that I thought were hard then that stressed me out. I was in relationships. You break up. You get your heart broken. Like, you go through everything in high school. So it's just like, I don't know. High school was just great. And I smile because I have so many good memories from high school. I had what I would like to call examples, both good and bad. So a lot of my good example people were people who in high school I saw thrive and succeed despite all obstacles and still ended up like where they wanted to be, like applied to college and stuff of that nature. And bad examples were people that I saw that had so much potential but either didn't have enough support or enough self-will to do things that kind of forced them to go outside of their comfort level. And I remember just not wanting to be that person.
Yeah, so I was number 6 out of 8 kids. So I was, as far as my parents together, I was the oldest. And so I was speaking English and translating for my mom. Obviously, my 2 younger siblings was right behind me and they were learning English as well. But I took up that leadership role within my family because my dad left at an early age. So when it came to mortgage claims, when it came to accidents, when it came to any type of loans, bills, you name it, that adults have to take care of, I was handling that at 12 years old.
And I got accepted to UF and was really amazed because I couldn't apply to other schools, so UF was my only hope. And when I got accepted, I was like, well, I'm pretty much screwed now. I can't pay for it. Here comes 2 jobs and no social life, and maybe I just won't go. And then 2 weeks later, I got a letter from the 4 Opportunity Scholars saying, hey, we'd like to provide you with a scholarship. You're your first generation student. And well, that was pretty much the story up to that point. And that was phenomenal. So I was able to come to UF.
And I was going to go to USF because of the fact that I would still be at home because my hometown is from Tampa. And so that way I could just commute instead and it would be a little bit cheaper on my side of things. And then it was maybe 2 weeks later, I got a letter from MFOS, so Machen, Florida Opportunity Scholars Program. And they, when I saw that letter, I was shocked because I thought it was fake at first. They were saying that, everything is paid for and this was my top choice university. So how is this even possible? After that letter, I was like, I'm definitely going to UF now. There is nothing holding me back. And so I was very, very thankful for that.
Is this a scholarship? Is this just a program? What do I have to do for this? And we both looked at each other and we were like, I think it's a full ride. And we started jumping and laughing hysterically because we were like, what is this? Is this fake? It was a day that I can't even explain. To this day, it's something that I go back to, and just every little celebration in my life really started. I mean, it started before, right? But that really was kind of the key point of oh my gosh, I can afford college.
UF, it's a flagship. And I was like, I don't know what that means. So I went, I liked it. And I was like, well, that's my first choice. I'm going to apply. And if I get in, that's where I'm going to go. And I ended up getting into all the Florida schools. So I got into UF and I was like, yeah, I'm going to go there. And I remember the weekend I found out I got in, it's lit. I'm going to go here. And apparently, because I didn't know how I was going to pay for it. I did my part in applying. But my parents, when I got serious, my parents kind of sat me down. They're like, hey, we can't pay for this. So I don't know what you're going to do. And I was like, don't worry about it. I'll figure it out. Not having any actual plan in mind. Because I also didn't know about all the scholarships you could apply for. So FOS just kind of fell in my lap and was perfect.
Yeah.
And to me, that's what I take from these kids. I just constantly see people who've achieved against really a lot of difficult odds. It's been easy to throw in the towel from time to time. And these kids don't have that attitude. They don't let those things happen. It reassures me that the future is bright.
Well, I'm saddened to think of being a first generation student being a stigma. I'm saddened by that. To me, it's absolutely the opposite. It's saying, I have a goal and I'm going to reach this goal, and I'm going to do it by focusing on academics in high school and doing well on my SATs or ACTs or, my grades so that I can get into a good university.
I know coming into college, I was like, oh, I have a first generational scholarship because my parents don't have a bachelor's degree or a 4-year degree equivalent. And I knew what it meant more on a definition level. But as far as the identity goes, I don't think I really grasped the importance until I got around other first generational students. That was other students in the MFOS program, as well as I started getting involved on campus, I started meeting other people who were first generational students. And it was just really encouraging, like, hey, there's a community of us. And there you can see like the sense of excitement and not so much a sense of shame. But when you get into that community, it's an exciting thing. It's like, hey, we're in this together. And like we have so much potential to do whatever we want with our education. And I think there's a lot of energy behind that community. And it's really exciting to be a part of.
But the thing that was really tough for me or on my brain was can you actually do this? I didn't have any examples of anyone in my family that went to college. I really felt like I was out there alone in the sense that, hey, you can't really ask anyone back home for suggestions on how to handle different challenges at class. Another piece of my personal story is that my siblings were all high school dropouts. And so when I was a senior, I watched my younger brother drop out in the 10th grade of my same high school that I was the senior class president of. So it was a little weird because I felt like there was a lot of pressure on me. And with those classes and with no one having done it, I showed up to UF very concerned that I was actually not what everyone thought I was. I wasn't going to make it. Maybe I was just a bunch of talk, and maybe my school was just easy, and so I wouldn't make it here because these are the smartest people all into one room, all on one campus. So I did have those feelings, and I had to face them and overcome them.
And when but I think the first generation identity question, that one I think hits the hardest. In my PhD classes now, like it's crazy. It's just crazy how you just kind of question like, why am I here? These people are talking like they really know what they're talking about. But the more it's something I'm still working through as I kind of go through the process. But I think I've definitely become much more confident in my abilities and my skills. I'm a work in progress. I'm not there yet. But I think about when I first started my PhD program in 2008, and I wouldn't even speak in class, to now where I'm like, I'm not afraid to disagree with the professor.
I knew that I was here. I knew that I was smart enough to get in, but there was this imposter syndrome of like, I remember showing up to my first day of class and seeing all these people who just knew what they were doing. And in reality, they probably didn't, but it looks like it. And I remember I called you crying when I failed my first exam. And I think what I figured out after a long time was that I am multifaceted, and I can exist, and I can be a student, I can be a good family member. Part of it going back to her saying, we just want you to be happy. There was never this typical pull of, you need to come home, like, you haven't been home in a while, what are you doing? Which I think set me up so much for success. You have to be all in. Because what you're talking about is kind of like, we call it like camp syndrome, where you come here, you're only here for 5 days, you go home, you come back. You never get invested.
But looking back at it now, I was definitely lost. And I wish I knew what I know now. And it's so crazy because it was only 4 years ago, but I knew so little 4 years ago. And even though I don't know, I just feel like it was available online. I just didn't even know how to look it up or how to look up those resources. Well, maybe I was even distracted with other things going on. I mean, I was very young. I always say it, I would choose UF 200 times if I could. It was just a little difficult for me to like, you know, basically guide myself around it.
I think a lot of times for first generational students, we have that pressure to become what our families want us to become, but somewhere during that journey, I came into discovering what it is that I wanted to become, and I knew that pre-med was something that was not the pathway for my life that I wanted to take at that time.
You know, I really wanted to be a business major because that's what interested me. And I didn't quite tell my parents for, I think, maybe until my junior year of whatever I was majoring in. Because I was like, I didn't want them to tell me to be a doctor or whatnot. So I skidded by for that sense. And, you know, that's kind of some of the mentality of being, I guess, a first gen, right? You want to have a very secure future. And when you take a secure future that is anything but a medical route or an engineering route, sometimes can raise red flags. And so, yeah, I think that those are some of the, I guess, more insights that I had, right? It's just, okay, what works for me? How do I not burn myself out?
Just like even with like moving into the dorms, navigating classes, struggling in classes, a lot of people called their parents and I didn't have that. And if I did contact a parent, it was like, I have no idea. I didn't go to school. And so it was a very lonely place in trying to navigate.
After I graduated, things for me were not very smooth, I would say. My last semester at UF, my dad got detained again. And then he got deported the month I graduated. And then after he got deported, I had to move back to Orlando and take care of my mom and brother, and I became the breadwinner. So for me, I was kind of like, I'm so glad that the timing of me graduating happened the way it did, because I graduated and now I can actually go get a real job to take care of my mom and brother. So for me, that meant that I had the ability to take care of my family with this degree, because if I didn't have it, things probably wouldn't look the same, or I probably wouldn't be able to take care of my mom and brother had I not had that degree.
I wouldn't have been able to be involved in some of the academic or extracurriculars I was involved in the University of Florida. I was heavily involved at rec sports, the recreation center on campus. I actually worked there part-time, but the job wasn't like a requirement for me. It was something I was glad to be a part of. It was a family that I had there. And I was also involved in different honors societies, and I was actually a peer mentor for MFOS. So all those things that contribute, you know, I look back at my undergraduate, I had a lot of free time. I filled that free time with a ton of things that I loved doing, that were passions of mine, being a youth leader at a local church. I wouldn't have had time for those things if it wasn't for Take Stock in Children and Machen Florida Opportunity Scholarship programs. Who knows where I'd be, honestly. It can be all over the place.
When I walked across that graduation stage, it was like my family and it was MFOS that got me there. That is, all of the credit goes to MFOS because of how it's structured and how much it meant to have someone on campus know my name and know that I mattered and that they were going to help me navigate this very confusing life. Definitely never let me get lost at all.
And since the get-go, they've always sat down with me. They've had checkups with me, even with the whole mentor-mentee program that they have going on. Like, it's a very community and like success oriented. Like, it's not just like we're giving you money and like shut up, you know, like it's like, no, we're giving you money and we're providing you like a backbone into like making your college experience what it is.
A strong connection to MFOS than UF, much more than Cornell. Just because it was so foundational for me. It really, were I not to have had that foundation, I think everything else that happened after undergrad would have looked very differently in my life.
I think the coolest the coolest part about it was because, you know, you thought about, okay, it pays for my school, and it helps for me to like live and eat and all these things. But it didn't only do that, right? It gave you that mentor, something that I went into as well after, because I thought that was nice, you know, having just that person of contact to be like, look, I'm lost, like help, who do I ask? And then having those financial classes and just knowing that, you know, at any point you could go and you could email Leslie, like she was always so like available. And so I think it just provided such a good start for a place that I was very scared of. You know, a lot of people say, oh, Stephanie, you're so outgoing. I really struggled the first 2 years, not because MFOS wasn't awesome, because it was, but it was just because I was trying to find myself in this big school.
How has the Florida Opportunity Scholars Program helped you out?
Tremendously. I actually wouldn't have, my family doesn't have, my grandparents raised me, and they don't have the funds or the financial helping for me, so I actually would have loans, or not sure if I'd be able to come here without FOS. It's a pretty big deal.
Do you think the FOS is mainly for, like, in your experience, was it mainly for minority students or all students?
I think it's for all students, but if you look at it, you think minority students really need it the most or benefits from it the most. Because, you know, like I say, you know, not a lot of our parents could afford 4 years of college to pay for kids. So I think minority definitely benefit for it the most, but it's for everyone. You know, I took a FOS class. We had everyone in there from all types of different cultures and background.
Yeah, that was my next question. So is there special classes you have to take in order to maintain your scholarship?
Yes, took first year Florida, the FOS program. You know, we met other FOS students from different places. So that was a great thing, you know, to actually know people your first semester who's basically here the same reason you here and trying to achieve the same things in life. And it was all possible because of the FOS program.
Most first generation students don't have the resources, but the fact that they even qualify or tried hard enough to be here kind of shows like they have that determination to be something, and they just need someone to believe in them. And I really believe that MFOS does that. And so I think it's just like first generation students, I never realized like how many of them there are and how many don't get that opportunity. And it's like the people who can make the most change in this world, just because they have so many perspectives that they've seen. They want to make change, they want to do something, but yet they don't have that opportunity to do it.
MFOS has impacted me in so many ways that I can't even wrap my head around it. I just know that my college experience would be so different if I wasn't a part of it. So when I came in, you know, being first generation, it's very difficult. You know, you have to it's part of your identity, and you have to kind of make a name for yourself, you know, go through college without any background in it. You don't have the help that some people do have from their family. So when I came into MFOS and I met the assistant directors, the director, and kind of all of the people in it, I was just blown away. Like, I found where I belong. I know that MFOS is where I belong, and it made me proud to be first generation.
The opportunity to jumpstart a career that I am completely passionate about, I will say, you know, without being in college, I would have never thought of being a consultant as a career. I remember that it only came across because I had an administrator, Horace Tucker, and I was in his office, and he asked, you know, have you ever thought about being a consultant? You would probably make a decent consultant. And at that point in time, I'd never thought about it. I wanted to maybe be a stockbroker or an investment banker, because that's what you hear, right? And so the opportunity to explore yourself, learn what you can do on a professional level, and to actually do it, like, Deloitte was the #1 employer that I wanted to work with when I graduated, and that happened. And so I am extremely, extremely fortunate and grateful to have been able to be a part of this college experience because of all the opportunity. And it definitely would not have been as impactful if the MFOS program had not been in place.
You know, a lot of starts, like when it comes to real life, like about credit, about giving back, you know, mentoring individuals. So, you know, I'm forever grateful to the program, and MFOS continues to pay dividends in my life, you know, over and over again. Is me getting, you know, several opportunities because I'm an MFOS, you know, scholar, and I'm forever grateful for the program. And, you know, I guess I don't know how to express my gratitude in more, you know, in other words, but just, you know, I'm extremely grateful for the program.
I would talk to Leslie. I would talk to whoever, and then they would give me the information, and I can just literally just tell the students, hey, MFOS exists. Take advantage of it. Our schools and other neighboring Title I schools don't get these opportunities often and don't know about them. And if you're able to get a free full ride, take advantage of that. That's going to alleviate so much off you and your parents. And if you think you don't have the grades for it, you might not actually know that. I said, you must apply. You have to apply and see where it can possibly take you, because I didn't think I was going to get there and I still got in. So I like that I get to spread those messages and kind of bring awareness about MFOS and, you know, just UF in general about how they operate, and tell the kids that, so they, you know, they can take advantage of the resources, because a lot of them do get kind of scared. They're just kind of like, hey, Miss Riha, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get in. I don't know if I have the grades for it. And I'm kind of like, it's way beyond your grades. They look at you holistically.
But that's what we offer these kids. We offer them the different opportunities and the chances to see all the possibilities. And what I love is in undergrad, they can make those kinds of decisions and get help to determine, how do I go forward? How do I take it to graduation and then make the leap into either graduate school or life?
Yeah, and one other thing is that these kids, when they go home, their brothers and sisters, they say, what do you get, how are you doing in school? And big incentive. So, I mean, it keeps going through that whole family. And some of them, I think, when they go back, their group of friends and people that they were with, it's hard because they have this whole new life. And a lot of their friends don't. So they have to sort of balance things.
Back when I was growing up, I didn't know many people that went to college. So for me, I wanted to be that for individuals at UF that were just like me, and even beyond within the Gainesville community and my home community. So like to really mentor individuals and use my story to kind of bring awareness that we're not all monolithic. We all don't come from, you know, extremely successful family or backgrounds. Like some of us have more checkered paths that are no fault of our own. You know, we're just kids, and bringing awareness and bringing light to that, and also inspiring those individuals to know that you can be whatever you want to be. It doesn't always have to be, you know, where it's not about how you start, it's about how you finish. And I wanted to be that beacon of light for others.
I've always said it, you know, a dream without a plan is just a wish, right? And so I believe that MFOS was just another piece to the plan of having a better life than just where I was living at.
I would say being a first gen college graduate, I would say on my dad's side, I want to say I'm the first one to be like a college graduate. So for me, like that's a big step, because at least, you know, I'm leaving like a legacy down for like my other family members that are younger than me, so they can go pursue college and stuff. Because like I said, me being, you know, a woman in college, it's very different for that, you know, Bangladeshi culture, because, you know, women don't often have those opportunities to do stuff like that. So I'm glad that I get to kind of, you know, lead the way and make sure that, you know, the rest of my cousins and, you know, so on and so forth can, you know, do their thing and, you know, keep that going.
And fortunately for my younger two siblings, they end up going to college as well because they saw the excitement, they saw the possibilities. We were able to dream a little bit bigger, right? And so I think your conviction is something big. So if people see you're excited, they're inspired by you. They want that for themselves as well, because humans are always in search of meaning.
Do you think your siblings now look up to you because you're at college?
Definitely. You know, when I go back home, my younger brother always tell me how he's gonna go to UF, and it's just nice to know that I've made an impact on his life, you know, like he can look up to me in a good way. So that's good.
If I'm going to contribute to UF, it's going to be MFOS. Like that's the place I'm going to give my money, because that's the entity that I feel really gave me an opportunity. Like UF, like also, you know, the more I've woken up, for lack of a better word, kept up with what's going on in the school, I'm like, I'm not sure you're pushing the things that like we should be believing in. Absolutely. But FOS does. Like I'm sure a huge percentage of the Black and brown students who end up going to UF is with the help of FOS.
Well, I think if you look at the numbers and the statistics of MFOS, it's highly diverse, right? We have a high number of people of color, of different ethnicity, you know, different race, color, background. So that in and of itself supports the overarching goal of University of Florida of having DEI and having that as one of our, forefront goals, if you will.
Having this first gen program certainly helps in the diversity of our university. And I think it also opens our eyes. And I think it helps us become more compassionate, more understanding, more embracing, because we may just be looking at our own situation and not realizing how difficult it is for others.
But when we think about what it means for our current students and what it means for this larger narrative around UF not being as welcoming of a place for Black students or students of color or first generation students, the MFOS program is absolutely interrupting that notion that students can't come here and be successful.
Those students who have come from adversity, I really feel like they provide a very different experience and a different way of thinking about things than what you see from families with generational success and wealth or whatnot. And I think that the students who can't necessarily do it on their own, like the financial aspect of it, or who get help from FOS, I think that they have all the more ambition to do great things. And I think that opportunity provided to them really allows them to go on and just become more than good, productive members of society, but to give back also, because to whom much has been given, much is expected, right?
I do know students who are first generation, but they did not have that privilege of getting MFOS. And MFOS is definitely a privilege. And I recognize that so much, because my friend who does not have MFOS works 2 jobs, has like 15 credit hours, and like isn't able to get as involved as he wishes he could, but he tries to either way. But again, it's not enough sometimes, and he has to make ends meet.
I've actually met a number of the Opportunity Scholars, and I've sat in roundtable discussions with them, and I met a brother and a sister, and they lived in one of the counties towards the Panhandle part of Florida, and one was going back to teach, and one was going to become another type of activist within his community. And it was so wonderful that they wanted to go back to their home and bring back what the knowledge they gained by being a part of this program to help others through education, to be able to have the same opportunity if they needed it.
As an alumni, it's so important to continue to be a voice, to be involved in that community. Like that's super valuable. And so I look forward to doing that and contributing in all the different ways I can throughout the rest of my life and my career, and seeing the program grow.
I've seen so many scholars tell their story, and not from a place of woe is me, not from a place of pity, but from a place of here's my story. I own it. I'm empowered by it. I tell it proudly. The struggles and the successes, And this is what it means to be first generation. This is what it means to be a first generation college student, first gen college graduate. And the students have the most powerful stories.
Like, I would love to hear one day that, hey, every first generational college student that is accepted to the University of Florida is able to enter the Machen Florida Opportunity Scholarship Program.
Because as we achieve national awards, if you will, that then feeds back into the university saying this is a critical program. I think we are in an era in our country and our society where diversity is critical, where opportunity is critical, where education is mandatory. So I think that kind of, we're on the right side of history on this one.
What I saw with the Opportunity Scholars Program was that you created a community that was embedded in the university. It wasn't isolated. It was really an integral part of the university. You had the president of the university saying this is a high priority, which was huge. There was a nurturing effect of the building of this community. And the most gratifying part must be that the graduates that benefited from this are now making disproportionately higher donations back to the contributions back to the university. That's living proof that this policy is phenomenally important.
The Opportunity Scholars, when you ask them at dinner, what do they want to do? They say they want to give back. They don't understand they can give back right this second. And that's by being successful. And you define that success. So that success could be defined by money, or could be defined by passion for what you do, or could be defined for the number of people you impact. You define it however you want. And when they see you, part of what they're seeing is Machen Florida Opportunity Scholar.
To be productive in this environment and to move forward in life and be a part of a career, you're going to need to be working with others, and you need to understand that you're on this journey together rather than alone. You're not competing against one another. And I think the program itself tells you that, and they have those resources to tell you if you need us, we're here.
Every day is a challenge, every day it's hard, but I think resilience is key. And MFOS has taught me that, if you have a dream, you can accomplish it, and they will try to provide you as many resources as they can to help you along your journey. So I would say that resilience would sum up my experience as an MFOS scholar and first generation college student.
Sorry, can you hear my son?
Don't worry about it.
One of the things we've been talking about recently is what are we going to do for his college and saving for that. And I don't know, it just made me think I know that, he's not going to be a first generation college student. And that's already going to mean that his experience is going to be so different than mine. And I'm glad for that. I'm glad that, God willing, he'll never need a scholarship like MFOS, because hopefully we're able to break that cycle and, just started a whole new pattern for his future. And I think ultimately that's the goal of programs like this, is to kind of break that cycle of poverty or however you want to frame it, so that future generations can build on that. And that's my hope for my kid. And that's been a really awesome reflection for me recently.
MFOS has come a long way, and I can't even attest to how it was when it first started. But it's come a long way from when I first stepped on campus to today, and I think that it's important to recognize that it's due to the folks that are leading the program, but it's also due to the folks that are outside of the program that are recognizing how important it is, and that it's important for the university to recognize that, hey, we can contribute more to this, or we can do a better job at amplifying the effects of this program. So, I'm really excited for what the MFOS program is going to look like 5 years, 10 years, 20 years from now. because I'm sure that it's going to change drastically.
But no, I actually got in and I was like, oh snap, I'm going to UF. Like, it is what it is.